Hi, I'm Dr. Yvette Rowe. I'm a Yingana Yara woman from the West Kimberley. I work for Marta Research UQ, based in Brisbane, and
and I'm Ike Fisher. I'm a Birrigubba and Gubby Gubby man from Queensland. Also got ties to the Torres Straits of Darling, which is one of the eastern islands of Torres Straits. I work for the Institute for Urban Indigenous Health in Brisbane as a research officer on many qualitative community research projects.
Thank you so much. Now, I wonder if you could give me a rundown on the research project that you've just presented about.
the research is looking, it does talk to first-time dads about what their aspirations are for fatherhood, what are their fears, what are their role models, where their parenting role models can be, and are they feeling prepared for fatherhood? The actual research is embedded into a broader research, which is actually how do we get healthier Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander babies? And we know that fathers are key to changing life trajectory. And one of the things that we've found is often the voices of fathers is not heard in research. So this is one of the first times we've done it in South East Queensland, where we're interviewing first-time fathers to hear what their goals are.
Yeah.
And what were their goals? What emerged from that?
Basically, they're wanting to be, no matter what their background is, their upbringing, whether it's traumatising or they've come from a very good home, they're wanting to be the best fathers they can be, to be the providers, the protectors of their families, and they are seeking that support to be the best they can. So that's the main findings that we're finding.
And you talked about how there's terrible stereotyping about Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander dads that we saw a lot in Australia recently, and was there an issue too that arose?
Their worries are that they don't want to be that, and mainly it's challenging that cartoon as well, that our fathers are not. They do have their strengths behind them. They are good role models in their community, and this project has really helped bringing that out as well, that they are not these stereotypes.
And Ike, who was the facilitator of the yarns, spoke to men who had lots of socially complex situations, had been incarcerated, were going through the legal systems, homelessness, taking on drug and alcohol addiction, and he also spoke to fathers that were had career pathways, quite stable environments, and like Ike was saying, at the core of all these conversations was dads wanting to be the best dads that they were trying to be, and the dads had different barriers to overcome, and some were super complex.
Yeah.
Now you talked, we're at a knowledge translation forum, so it'd be fantastic if you could talk about really how that informed and led and impacted for you. But one of the opening things you said, Yvette, was about the idea of research, what it means for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people and researchers. Can you talk about that?
Yes, I mean, if we consider the last 10 years, we've seen a complete groundswell in the number of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are graduating with PhDs, that are now based at research institutes. And what's happened is that we're actually using research as quite a sovereign political act to voice our opinions, to put our questions, to advocate for community. Prior to that, research was used to often oppress us, to exclude us, to describe us in a very deficit model. And what we do as a team at Marta Research UQ is actually we're looking at strength-based, resilience-based, problem solving, and with our partners with the Institute for Urban Indigenous Health, Marta Research, the Aboriginal Community Controlled Health Service of Brisbane, we're actually flipping that whole narrative where this research is about advocacy, it's about ensuring that community voices are at the forefront, and research actually becomes a sovereign act of our own independence, and I think that's really critical because research is more than just storytelling and problem solving. It's actually about doing, and you can't do that if people don't feel they're being heard, and that's the sovereign act behind the research that we do.
So can you talk about how that worked in this project, what you did, and including sort of the layers of, it was very focused on yarning, the layers of yarning?
We use a method of yarning because it's been known for tens of thousands of years. Indigenous people use yarning through communicating their songlines, their stories, and we still use it today, just yarning to each other basically, So we used a framework where it had different sections. So you start off with a social yarn, so you're making that connection with the participant and, well, the dad really. You're making that connection with the dad and finding out who their country are, who their mob are and things like that, and what hobbies and interests they are. So you're creating that calm environment for them to share their story, but also keeping at the back of your mind, you're trying to answer a research question, so you're using a calm yarning method and getting out the answer that you're wanting. And we all know yarns can go in any direction. Sometimes you find it going into a bit of a therapeutic yarn where they're sharing a very emotional story, and it's best, you don't want to cut them off and change the subject. You've got to let them actually express how they're feeling and just be there in that story, not judge, and just listen basically and support them through it.
And you were saying a number of times the first time dads had disclosed some really
share some stories that they have not shared with other people as well. So just by using that yarning method, it created that environment for them that they felt comfortable to open up. It's not interrogation basically. It's a safe environment.
And we also worked with collaborators on this project.
Yep. Yeah. So we worked with different service providers that would come into contact with young Indigenous dads, as well as the Mata Hospital, where the partners would be going in for their antenatal appointments, and also where the baby would be born essentially. We had them yarns with them about how we can best approach young Indigenous dads, and how we can best also translate that knowledge back to them and back to community. So it was a really two-way street with that yarn with them as well. Yeah.
And what did you find with that? What were the best ways to translate that?
Same thing now, yarning basically. So we invited dads to come to some men's groups. We held a barbecue for the Mums and Bubs Hub Christmas Day. We got rugby league great Stephen Renoff to come down and yarn to the dads about his experience of being a dad as well, which turned out to be a great day. All the dads around the barbecue and just yarning and sharing their experience. As well as Daily Choices in Queensland that connected with the Institute for Indigenous Health, run a lot of community days, so we tied in with the golf day that they have and sharing back knowledge through there. Yeah.
So one of the things that also has been done is the Mums and Bubs hubs in Salisbury in Queensland. And we realised that creating a space for dads is important. So now we have a dad's wall with pictures of their dads and their children celebrating fatherhood. So having that space of actually this is dad hugging and parenting and things like that. I think walking into that space, which often is excluded as well, this is only for mums and babies, actually creates that, because we know Bub needs both mum and dad to be in that to get the best out of life. So that's one practical thing. The other thing that you were talking about before was the role of IUI in having an integrated men's health plan.
Yeah, the strategy. So they're in the process of developing a strategy to incorporate men and fathers into their family wellbeing plans and Australian Nurse Family Partnership, I believe, plan as well,
And a lot of the KT activities is all strength-based. It's about how do we strengthen families, and whether that's with mum and dad, whether that's families that might be separated, but how do we strengthen families that then can flourish, that has resilience. And we know there is resilience and courage and wisdom in the community, and we need to draw that in, and that's really key to our research. So the findings that we've found, in light of all the adversity that dads have faced, there's so much strength, there's so much willingness to be better fathers. And so the research is actually making this as now it's evidence. It's not just hearsay, it's not just someone's story. And when it goes into knowledge translation, it then becomes policy. And for the community control sector, that means their programs and policies are informed by a community voice.
What would be the lessons that you hope other researchers would learn from your work and the way you've done your work?
One of the things is we have been researchers forever. The concept of research is a very new thing. So to survive 70,000 years, we've had to face problems, we've had to come up with solutions, we are resilient. So the concept of research is not new. The adversity that we face and the complexity and the social complexity and the health complexity, housing, things like that. So we are natural problem solvers. And one of the things is that when you're thinking about fatherhood and all the issues that come with that parenthood, it's quite a complex thing. But that means it's, you need to be more innovative when you come to solutions. And at the core of it is that you've got to be engaging with community members, first-time fathers, to help you with some of those solutions. And that takes time. It's actually about investing in relationships.
Yeah.
One of the things that Ike and the team were thinking about was how do we recruit and engage young fathers?
Yeah, and especially because we were yarning before baby was born, also after as well. So that whole 9-month period of keeping them engaged, we know mob can be very transient, and just making sure we kept that connection with them was very important.
Yeah, so the key learning is those relationships take time and resources, and our community is also tired of just talking all the time. And that's the key for KT. They actually want to see outcomes. They want to see, what does it mean for me? What does this mean for my son or my grandchildren? And that's the exciting thing about KT, because our communities are now got a framework that can do that.
And where to from now? Anything else emerging from this?
So another key finding was dads wanting to spend more time with dads, to build that relationship, share war stories, I guess, or knowledge between, but that's something that we're looking at doing as well, as running community days within Southeast Queensland. That encourages dads to come down into a sort of a mums and bubs setting, bring the children along, and whatever's happening on the day, get involved, share the day with the children and other dads.
And I guess in the sense of a research framework is actually, it's about how do we strengthen families? How do we strengthen mums, dads that might not be engaged, provide support, because dads are asking for that thing. So it's that whole stuff about, it's not about disengaged dads, because often if dads are absent, we've got grandfathers that have got key roles. How do we bring the wisdom from the elders and the men who are, and supporting young men in that role? So again, to me, the opportunity for this project is how do we make connections with elderly people, young people, fathers that want to be engaged but are not quite sure how. So I think the opportunity is quite broad. So again, and our community have come up with some really exciting solutions.
Fantastic. Any other takeaways from today that you'd like to share?
I guess community's always got the answers. You've got to listen to community and do it in a way that they feel comfortable sharing, but you also got to share it back to them. You can't hold that information, and that's what the importance of knowledge translation is.
It is, I guess, from the perspective of our team and from Mike and I, when we talk about fathers, we're thinking about brothers, we're thinking about uncles, we're thinking about little people. Ike's the father of a 18-month-old, so we're thinking about what does this mean for next generations? This is not just a blip in the thing now. What do we mean for my grandchildren? And I think there's lots of opportunities, and we're really excited about that.
Thank you both very much.
Thank you.